Hey, Mason Jennings, thanks so much for joining us on WTOP in Washington, D.C.
Thanks for having me on.
We're talking because you are coming to our area to perform at the City Winery in Washington, D.C. on August 21st. So get your tickets now. We're so excited. I have to admit right at the top, full disclosure, I had not heard of your music until about 2 or 3 years ago. It was during the pandemic. My wife swore by you, said she like your biggest fan ever, like going back like a decade or so. She put me on to your music during the pandemic, and it's been the biggest comfort of this whole time. So
Oh, cool.
I thank you so much, and all our listeners, you have to check it out. So if
Thanks.
they come to the City Winery, what are we gonna play? Is it the new album? Is the old hits? A little of both?
It'll be a little bit of both. Mostly, most of the stuff from other albums. There'll probably be like four or five new ones, but I try to sprinkle stuff in from all my different albums.
Awesome. And tell us about the most recent one, Real Heart. We picked up a copy, but how do you think that's sort of continuing to show your evolution here?
Well, I think uh, to me, it's pretty exciting because it was produced by Stone Gossard from Pearl Jam, and it was like a very folk-based record, which you'd think it might be rock if, with him producing it, but actually, like, I recorded a lot of the acoustic guitars and vocals at my house in Minnesota, overlooking a lake, and it became like kind of a rural-sounding folky record. And then Stone and his friends added lots of like strings and some orchestration like that, and it's got a real folk feel to it that I'm pretty excited about.
I love it. It's a great album, continuing a great run of records that have newly discovered and geeking out of, thanks to my wife Ashley.
Thanks.
um, awesome. Well, I know I mentioned how I was listening during the pandemic. You did a lot. You've been doing a bunch of live streams, and we caught your one about I guess it might have been in November 2020, maybe, or 2021, maybe 2020, where you performed your entire debut album, and you were like stopping in between to tell stories. How cool was that to stay in touch with your fans when we were all quarantined? You were able to at least do little private shows for everybody.
So cool. It's awesome for me because I could really just get comfortable in my living room and just tell the stories without having on stage. Sometimes if you talk a little too long, people be like get restless, but when you when you're sitting on a video, you can just kind of tell the whole story and not feel that as much. So that was fun. And then I could kind of do show and tell with some of the stuff, like show some of the tapes and stuff that and the artwork and stuff. Yeah, it was really cool. It's a 25-year anniversary of that first record, so it's kind of it was a fun thing to revisit.
Oh yeah, and those videos, I guess your wife was able to show her little weavings and sell some of those, and you could sell some
Yeah,
hand signed stuff, so it worked out.
yeah,
Well, yeah, you just mentioned what's the anniversary? It'll be 25 now, on 25th anniversary of Mason Jennings, the first one, right?
yeah. 25th year of
Oh my
it, so
gosh,
pretty cool.
that's insane. Well,
Yeah,
um, the any memories of putting together that first one? I mean, what all was on there? You got Butterfly, California. There was
yeah,
so many good ones on that. Darkness Between the Fireflies. Oh, I could just geek
yeah.
out all day, but just memories of recording some of those.
Yeah, I mean, I was like only 22, and I was actually just trying to make a demo because I went to an artist counselor, and because I had a backpack full of cassette demos, and he's like, dude, you got to get it together, man. You got to make a CD of some sort so that people know what you sound like. And so I had this little duplex, and I just kind of got this reel-to-reel 4-track machine and made this. I thought it was a demo, but then I made this 8-song CD, and then I just started selling them. I tried to get a record deal, but at that point nobody was interested. So I just started selling them, and we sold like 100,000 of those CDs. So I was like, well, I guess I can just do it myself and go directly to the people. So it was kind of a DIY, and sort of surprised me, but it was really fun. I just recorded all the instruments myself in this wooden living room. I just layered the drums, bass, and guitar, and yeah, it's held up well over these years. It's been kind of a cool little boat on the waters.
It's so good. I mean,
Thanks.
I don't even mention Nothing and Big Sir and Song to Give You Hope. I mean, it's there's not a bad song on the whole thing. It's great.
Thanks.
Take me into. We noticed again, as my wife was taking me through your discovery. I noticed your second album, Birds Flying Away. I noticed that there was a little bit more of well, there was some protest stuff. It almost was like a little bit of a reggae vibe to some of it, like the Black Panther song, and when the Dr. King song as well. Take me into coming up with lines like "Think of the dead in Vietnam, think of the dead in Birmingham, asleep in a bed in a stolen land." I mean, you have some like 60s counterculture protest anthems running through your veins.
I know, right? It's like, well, I think I'm just kind of a researcher, so I'm always like reading mostly. And so I think I was reading some like Huey P. Newton stuff and Eldridge Cleaver, Black Panthers stuff, and I think it just got inside the songs. And whatever I'm kind of doing at the time or interested in, just usually ends up in the song in some form or another. And so that record was, I guess, I was reading a lot of that stuff at the time.
I love it.
And I love reggae. I mean, I'm a huge reggae fan, so it that sneaks in there here and there throughout the discography.
Keep sneaking it in. We love it. It's always a nice little detour amongst the other stuff.
Nice.
I'm just gonna keep moving quickly through them because I'm obsessed with your albums now. But Century Spring, your third one. Tell our listeners about Sorry Signs on Cash Machines. That's a cool turn of phrase.
Thank you. Yeah, I don't know where that came from. I mean, I was definitely like moving to the piano music because the first two records don't really have piano. I don't think there's any piano on there, and I think I got a piano. So that Sorry Signs was kind of like I wrote that on the piano, and yeah, I don't know. I was just kind of looking towards some hope. There's sometimes you're playing those chords and there's something inside it that it felt like a hopeful song.
Absolutely. I'm gonna start jumping around a little more, or else we'll never get through it. But let's jump to the fourth album. Use Your Voice is arguably, well, I don't know if it's my favorite. It's right up there because
it's up there. Cool.
Yeah, man. The Light Part 2 and keeping it real. And of course, If I Had My Way. Never Gonna Leave Lemon Grove Avenue. Tell me about putting together that whole album.
Well, that album was kind of interesting. And some of the songs are older. Like it was sort of I wanted to make a folk, like just a trio record. So like it's just guitar, upright bass, and little tiny drum kit. And I just wanted it to be really, really sparse. And so I kind of pulled some songs from different places. Like that Keeping It Real song was actually written for the Shrek movie, actually.
Oh, well, no way. Did
so
it just not make the cut, or?
It didn't make the cut, but if you listen to the lyrics, I'm singing about ogres. But then I just figured it kind of was like Big Fat Love, We Feel Fairy Tale, all that kind of stuff. But then it ended up being just a cool love song too. So I used that. And then the Light Part 2 is actually supposed to be the first song on my first record, but I couldn't get the recording to sound right. So I just kind of saved it. And then that ended up being on there. And then I guess Lemon Grove Avenue was, I was touring a ton at the time, and I've been touring nonstop since then too, but driving through San Diego and I saw a Lemon Grove Avenue sign. So I was like, oh, I started singing it in my head and I wrote this song. I think I was on tour with Jack Johnson at the time. And so it's like a little bit of flavor of like Jack's kind of influence in there. And then I went back to San Diego and played the song, and I was like, San Diego, here's the song. And the crowd just sort of sat there like not smiling. And then the one guy goes, have you been to that avenue? That is not a cool place. And I was like, I had no idea. It sounded so beautiful. And he's like, no, there's nowhere near the ocean. It's super ugly and like rough. And I was like, oh, well, it's got a song now.
Well, in all of our heads, it's a beautiful place, even if
there you go.
And I didn't know that. Thanks for the Shrek trivia. I didn't know. See, but you can do a Shrek song with like catchy like, oh yes, my oh my, but then switch it up to something so deep, like what's like the Light Part 2. Explain.
Yeah.
Tell our listeners really quick, sort of the metaphor there, like the idea that it's just the light that's changing. It's only the light as we move through different relationships and
I mean, I think in some ways it's like that's sort of a quantum thing, and like you can get so hung up on the physical and the facts, but then everything just kind of regenerates anyway. So like the image that came to me was an airplane, and I just remember seeing like the light from a sunset kind of moving across the land, because it was at sunset, and I was like, wow, that light just crosses everybody. Like you can't escape the light of a sunset. And then I was thinking, I'm like, well, you also can't escape the light of a sunrise either. So it just came out of that imagery, and the idea that it's all circular, and and then at the end, it's like it keeps saying the light that's changing, but then it's like it's the light that's breaking, which is kind of like trying to be tough, saying that your heart's not breaking. It's just the light that's breaking.
You went from changing to breaking. In one word, it means something totally different. I just thought the whole metaphor was great.
Thanks.
Trying to think. Oh, Bone Clouds, I guess, was after. Jackson Square is such a haunting. That's a storyteller song, haunting tale. And then What You Got If You Ain't Got Love, just a beautiful romance song. But the one I want to ask you about is Actually, my ringtone every morning now, since my wife got me into it, be here now. The sun comes up and I start again every day, man. So talk about in general, talk about just sort of that concept of, just you got to live in the moment. You got to be here now. And so many of us get caught up on, mistakes of the past, or, we're hypoing about the future, but really just got to be here now.
Yeah, I think I was definitely trying to learn a lot about, I was meditating a bunch and I was trying to learn because I had so much anxiety. I was dealing with a lot of anxiety. And then I heard somebody say that, everything in the past and everything in the future only happens in the present moment. And I thought about that for like weeks, because I was like, yeah, there really is no other access point to the past or the future except the present moment. And then it just made me contemplate that. And I just think that song came out of that idea. Like, there's a lot of power in that. I mean, at first it kind of was like daunting because everywhere you are, you're in the now. But then oftentimes I really struggle with going into the future, and I that's where anxiety is. So staying in that powerful present it's like an instant tool to get out of anxiety, really. So that song was helpful for me. I kind of wrote it for myself, and then hopefully it's cool. It's helping other people too.
You wrote it for yourself, and it wound up as my ringtone, and probably a bunch of other people. That's what great art does, right? It's a personal, but then it probably winds up being universal too.
Cool.
I just want to hit maybe at least one more, because I know you signed with Jack Johnson's Brushfire Records for In the Ever in 2008, and I love Something About Your Love. I guess I got to go after that. My falsetto is not yours anywhere close. But what else was on that? I Love You and Buddha too. All right. Hey Little Fighter Girl, and then tell me, I want to know about that great little Love and Your New Man. It comes across, it's like a revenge song, but at the same time it almost sounds like you're doing like a stand-up comedy routine.
Totally, dude.
Yeah.
Well, I was thinking, I was writing songs for this record, and I was listening to Folsom Prison by Johnny Cash, and he was always cracking people up. And I was like, in today's music, a lot of stuff there's not that many funny songs. Yeah. So I was like, well, maybe I'll try, and I was dealing with some stressful stuff. And then all of a sudden it was just, this song kind of came out. And I thought maybe the way to do that would be like a stand-up comedian. I decided, I was going to the Troubadour in LA. So I was like, maybe I'll just try this song for the first time, like a stand-up comedian, and nobody knew it. And I just sang it and then recorded it. So you're hearing like the first time that song's played, the first crowd reaction in real time. They didn't know it. So it's really fun. Like I was like, I'll put a live version of it on the album, because I've never really done a live version on one of my albums. So that kind of was like the first take at the Troubadour in LA with people's initial reaction, which was, I thought it was kind of fun.
Awesome. Well, it's a great album. All of them. Thank you for doing a deep dive into all those.
That's so cool that you've been like in a kind of a quick time sort of listening through it. And
I'm not even all the way caught up. I mean, you know what I mean? I mean, we picked up the most recent 2 albums, but now I still got to go back and pepper in, in between there. So we invite our listeners to check out Blood of Man, The Flood, Minnesota, Always Been, Wild Dark Metal, Songs from When We Met. all of them, up until the most recent ones, Painted Shield and Real Heart. Now I probably have heard some in there. My wife is, YouTube jumped around showing me. So let me ask you then, in that little gap that I've missed or that I think I've missed, probably have heard them. Do you have a favorite song or two or album or two in there, or something that we should at least zero in and pinpoint, say, hey, Jason, go and listeners, go check that out. You missed a good one.
Well, I like them all, like I think they're all different. That's the thing that I think you'd find over time is like, the Blood of Man is really lo-fi, and I did that in the studio in the woods. It's very rock, and it's like a lot of songs that are very dark. And then same with Wild Dark Metal, but Wild Dark Metal is like a rock record, but it's in a studio. So it's kind of like way more hi-fi. And I mean, if you want to hear rock, those are the 2 records to listen to. But then a folk record like The Flood is just me and an acoustic guitar the whole way through. So just depends on what you're looking for, and I'll just keep, I just think the songs, just for me, I just follow the song and then just try to give it the production it needs and not be too embarrassed if stuff comes out really like it goes where it goes.
I love it. And also I want to, like, in terms of your personal life, we mentioned the recent marriage, but aren't you a new daddy recently?
Yeah, I have a newborn, a 3-month-old named Western.
Congrats.
Thanks. Yeah, I've got a 19-year-old, a 16-year-old from other marriage, and then I've got a newborn now. So I've got the full deck. and 2 stepkids too. So
Oh, hey, more material to write about songs. I write songs.
Definitely. I mean, it's more love.
All right, Mason Jennings, thank you so much for joining us. I really appreciate it. I guess just sort of in closing, I mean, do the final sell on this actual show here at City Winery DC. You know, I mean, A, have you played there before? And D, you know, why should our listeners come on out?
Yes, I love that venue. It's great. It'll just be me with a guitar and a grand piano, and I'll be telling stories about the songs and, playing stuff from all the records in a very intimate setting, which is just great sound and really, really cool venue to see, songs and just kind of hear the essence of these songs for sure. I'm looking forward to it.
All right, we can't wait. Again, everyone, it's Mason Jennings. He's going to be at the City Winery in Washington, D.C. on August 21st. So get your tickets now. This was a blast. And thank you again.
Totally.
Like we started the interview. Thank you for helping, me just make it through without, losing my mind during this pandemic. Like I've loved discovering your stuff. It's awesome.
Thanks, Jason. That's really nice. Nice talking to you.
You too. All right. Be well, stay safe, and look forward to the show.
Sounds good. Take care.
All right. Bye.